Hi everyone, welcome to Python Code Nemesis. This is a new video on Python schema validation with Marshmallow. In this article, we will understand why schema validation is important and how to use Marshmallow for schema validation in Python. Schema validation is important in Python for several reasons. Data integrity. Schema validation ensures that the data being stored in the database is in the correct format and conforms to certain constraints. This helps to maintain the integrity of the data and prevent errors caused by invalid data. Security. Schema validation can help to prevent security vulnerabilities by validating user input and ensuring that it conforms to the expected format. This can help to prevent SQL injection attacks and other types of malicious input. Data consistency. Schema validation ensures that the data stored in the database is consistent with the expected format, making it easier to work with the data later on. This can help to prevent errors and improve the efficiency of data processing. Error detection. Schema validation can help detect errors early on before they cause more serious problems. By validating the data before it is stored in the database, you can catch errors early and take appropriate action. Reusability. Schema validation can help make code more reusable by ensuring that the data being passed between functions is in the correct format. This can help to reduce the number of bugs in your code and make it easier to maintain. Overall, schema validation is an important tool to ensure the quality and consistency of data in Python apps. It can help prevent errors, improve security, and make it easier to work with the data. Marshmallow. You can use Marshmallow library in Python to validate database schema by defining a schema class for each table in your database using the Marshmallow validate method to validate user input against the schema. Here's an example of a schema class for a person table. From Marshmallow import schema, fields, class person schema inherits from schema, name equal to fields.str required equal to true, age equal to fields.str required equal to false, address equal to fields.str. You can then use the schema to validate user input when creating or updating a person. Person data, name, John Doe, age 30, address 123 Main Street, schema, person schema. Errors equal to schema.validate person schema. So if there are errors, print errors, else save person to database. You might have to do a try catch here in case there are errors. You can also use Marshmallow's built-in load method to deserialize and validate input data in one step. Person, errors equal to person schema.load person data. You can also validate a list of data using many equal to true option. So you have like two rows. Let's say John Doe, Jane Doe, Python Code Nemesis, any ages, a different address. So people, errors equal to person schema, many equal to true, dot load people data. So if there are multiple rows, it will save all of those errors to the database. You'll have to add some code for that. And if there are errors, it will print the errors. In this one, you can load multiple data, people, like multiple database object rows into this schema. We can also validate a query object using the schema.validate method. From SQL alchemy.orm import session, session equal to new session, query equal to session.query person.filter, person name equal to John, errors equal to person.schema.validate query. If errors, then print the error, else just do something with that query. In the above example, it's just a simple representation of how Marshmallow can be used to validate a database schema. There are many more advanced features that you can use depending on the complexity of your schema and the data that you're working with, Postgres and Marshmallow. You can use the Marshmallow library in Python to validate input data before inserting it into a Postgres database. Here's an example of how you might use Marshmallow to validate input data for a person table in a Postgres database. First, you would need to define a schema class for the person table using Marshmallow fields. This is exactly what we did before. Then you would use the load method to deserialize and validate the input data before inserting it into the database. Import psychopg2 get add person which takes in data, which first connect to the database. Connection equal to psychopg2.connect, your database name, your username and the password, and cursor equal to connection.cursor. Deserialize and validate the input data. So person comma errors equal to person schema dot load data. If there are errors, then return the error. Else, if there are no errors, insert this data into the person table. Cursor dot execute insert into person name, age, address, values, where it just replaces the values of this into the query. So this will be insert into person, comma name, age, address, then values as, let's say, John Doe, age 30, and person 123 street. Connect. So connection.commit. So this will execute the query, then close the connection, connection.close, cursor.close, connection.close, and then return the message, person added successfully. We can also validate a list of data using the when equal to true option here. So in the person schema, while calling this, you just put in a many equal to true, and that will take in like multiple persons in people, and then like execute those queries or insert that record into the database, like multiple records. So the above example is again a simple example of how Marshmallow can be used to validate input data before inserting it into a Postgres database. Depending on your specific requirements, you may need to add additional validation logic or use more advanced features of Marshmallow. That was it. Thanks for reading this article. I would love your questions or feedback in the comments. Please follow on YouTube if you like such videos, and if you want to know more on Python frameworks and more upcoming technology videos on dependency injection design patterns and more. Thanks. Cheers. Happy coding.